Suicide Squad Isekai episode 10. This is the final episode of the season and probably the final episode of the series. I have no idea if we're going to get a season 2, but yeah, this is the end for now at least. And the video title isn't clickbait. The ending is freaking weird. I kind of saw it coming, but then I actually didn't see it coming. I'll get to it when I actually get to the ending. Yeah, let's just jump right into this. So in the last episode, the cliffhanger was Rick Flag and Clayface discovering that Enchantress's physical body is being held hostage within this dragon skeleton. And so this episode starts off with Clayface using his powers to transform himself into this giant griffin. And he's going to use this to try to scare the skeletal dragon into releasing Enchantress's body. But instead, the dragon just comically starts attacking Clayface and beating him down. And somehow Rick Flag is able to get the body out as this is going down. How he's able to pull her body out, I have no idea, but he has the body. Meanwhile, we cut to Harley, and Harley has Enchantress, her astral projection form, at gunpoint. I know that sounds kind of weird that you're going to shoot a ghost basically, but she has her at gunpoint. And all of a sudden, Enchantress starts crying out in pain. And then we cut to Rick Flag and Clayface, and they are being chased by the skeletal dragon. And as they're running away, they each have a hold of Enchantress's arm, and they're dragging her body across the ground. And they're jumping over rocks and stuff, but they're the ones jumping over rocks. Meanwhile, the body is just going face first into a bunch of rocks and stuff. And so, yeah, whatever the physical body feels, the astral projection body feels. Enchantress is feeling all this pain because these two idiots are dragging her body across the ground. And she believes that Harley is doing this on purpose, that her group has somehow found her physical body and is basically holding it hostage and torturing it. So she gets super pissed off, she flies up into the sky and starts using her powers to start destroying buildings and things. Meanwhile, we cut back to Rick Flag and Clayface, and they're running past a tree, and they each run on either side of the tree. But since they're both holding on to Enchantress, they end up just bashing her head into the tree, and they both fall down. And right before the giant skeletal dragon is about to attack, Katana comes and cuts it in half. So Katana basically saves the group. And Clayface basically flirts with her and pretty much says, "Thank you for helping us. Meet me in my room later, and I'll give you a private reward." And then she just kind of disappears. And Rick Flag's like, "What the hell was that about?" And Clayface is like, "Isn't it obvious? The reason she helped us out is because she fell in love with me." I'm like, okay. I really love Clayface's characterization in this series. He's just such a dumb idiot, but it's hilarious. And that's when we cut to King Shark, who is fighting Killer Croc and the creature that I just refer to as Dagon, because it kind of just reminds me of Dagon. So he's fighting against those two. Peacemaker is there and he's trying to help King Shark, but every once in a while he has to swim to the surface for air. And so as he does that, Killer Croc and Dagon basically team up against King Shark. And Killer Croc taunts King Shark about the fact that you have human allies, human friends, and human friends need to breathe. And because of that, you're pretty much going to be going against us 2v1. Isn't that right, bro? And then all of a sudden he turns around and he notices that Dagon is not there with him. So he swims to the surface and he sees that Peacemaker has Dagon, not necessarily unconscious, but wounded on the on land, and basically has his fist shoved into Dagon's gill. And so he's basically suffocating Dagon. And Killer Croc's like, "That's not fair." Peacemaker basically says, "Don't make any moves, otherwise I'm going to kill your buddy." And so Killer Croc is forced to pretty much just stay there, just swimming in the water and not dodge any of King Shark's attacks. So King Shark kind of gets free hits. Only Killer Croc starts blocking, and then after a while tries to throw a punch of his own. And that's when Peacemaker is like, "What did I say about you staying still?" And then he does something to Dagon. I don't know what exactly. There's some kind of weird cracky, kind of squeezes Dagon, but it doesn't kill Dagon. Instead, he kicks Dagon into the water, and Dagon now has flashing red eyes. And instead of helping Killer Croc, it attacks Killer Croc, wraps its tentacles around him, and pretty much bites off his head and kills him. So I have no idea what the hell Peacemaker did to get the Dagon creature to attack his buddy. Maybe it was seeing Killer Croc moving when he knew that if he moved, Dagon's life would be in danger. Maybe that caused him to flip. Whatever happened, basically, yeah, Dagon ended up flipping sides and kills Killer Croc. And then King Shark, comes to the surface and basically says that, I wasn't able to win. I'm useless, aren't I? And Peacemaker's like, nah, you're not useless. I need your help to get me across the water. So basically, Peacemaker is trying to, in his own way, boost up the confidence of King Shark. Meanwhile, we have Deadshot and Cecil, who have been fighting against the army of zombies, and they stumble into a bar where Cecil collapses and basically tells Deadshot, hey, I'm not going to be able to keep going. I need you to use my armor. Deadshot's like, what the hell are you talking about? You need that to protect yourself. And then he notices like a blade is stabbed into Cecil. So Cecil dies, quote unquote. Deadshot basically puts on part of Cecil's armor and it gives him like a magical boost. We actually have like a scene that's straight out of like tokusatsu, like something right out of Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, where we just have like these armor pieces go onto Deadshot as he's like spinning around. And then when he shoots, it basically creates like this magical bullet and it just starts completely destroying the army. Meanwhile, back with Enchantress, she keeps using her powers to attack Harley. And as she's doing this, she starts feeling more and more, not necessarily pain, but she starts getting dizzy. And we cut to Clayface and Rick Flag. And to kind of make carrying Enchantress's body faster, what they did was Clayface has rolled himself into a ball. They've stuck Enchantress's body into the ball, and they're just basically rolling it. So, yeah, as the ball's spinning, Enchantress's body spins with it, and so Enchantress starts getting dizzy and things. But she sees that they have her physical body, and she starts trying to make a move for it. So Enchantress sees her physical body and makes a move for it, and the undead king realizes, well, if Enchantress gets her body back, I won't have any leverage to hold over her to have her fight for me. So she sends a blast to try to destroy Enchantress's physical body. So we basically have a scene where a blast is heading towards the body, Enchantress is diving towards her body, and Harley, who's riding on top of her dragon, Artie, are diving towards the body as well. So all three are going for the body. They all connect at the same time. There's a huge explosion. And then it turns out that Enchantress was able to get into her body in time and basically put up a barrier to protect the rest of the squad. And then she says, I'm not going to be helping you because you helped me. I'm doing this out of revenge. And then she goes to confront the undead king. And then Clayface basically calls her out and says, oh, I've heard about this before. This is what you call a tsundere. And then that's when Deadshot shows up. And Deadshot has the power to fly now. And he's carrying a bag with him. And he comes across the squad and he basically pulls out different pieces of the armor. And they're like, hey, what happened to Cecil? And Deadshot's like, let's just say he's resting in peace. And snoring quite loudly. And then it cuts to Cecil and he's like passed out. He's bandaged up, but he's passed out and he's just wearing like really weird banana hammock. So yeah, Deadshot passes out the different pieces of the armor, and then we get a bunch of magical girl sequences. So we have like, well, specifically Harley and Peacemaker. Like we have the whole like their body being naked, kind of like if anyone has seen Sailor Moon. So we have the naked body floating, and then we have pieces of like armor and just like dresses and stuff being applied to their body. So we just have a cool sequence where we have Harley Quinn doing a transformation scene. We have Clayface doing a transformation scene, and it's basically straight up Michael Jackson. We have King Shark doing his transformation scene, and then we have Peacemaker doing his transformation scene. And now the entire squad is like stooped up, and they all have magical powers. And now they're all going after the undead army. And eventually they are able to wipe out the entire army and kind of destroy like the entire force in the process. But then all of a sudden, the skeletons start popping out of the ground again, and they start merging together and becoming stronger. And then they realize, well, this is an undead army. How do you kill an undead army? Well, we have to kill whoever keeps raising it. So we got to go after the undead king. But we can't just leave the skeletons behind. So Enchantress instead shows up and says, I'll take care of the army. You go after the undead king. and then we'll call it even. But as they're attacking the Undead King, they just basically keep getting their butts kicked. Like, they're not able to really do much. They're able to, like, kind of hold their own, but this is a battle that they're not able to win. And eventually we get to a point where Rick Flag, who's riding on top of Artie, the dragon gets shot. So the two of them start dive bombing towards the castle. Harley goes in to try to slow it down. And even King Shark gets blasted towards the castle. And so Harley wakes up and she sees Princess Fiona. And we have a moment where she notices the makeup. And she basically says, "Wow, Princess Fiona, you're very beautiful. I really love the makeup." And then we see Princess Fiona like blushing. So yeah, definitely some Yuri bait there. At least one-sided Yuri bait on the princess's side, I should say. But eventually, Rick Flag is like, "Hey, can you use your magic to help us out?" And she's like, "No, I can't. Like, I've been using it to help with keeping the people here alive. The only thing that can destroy the Undead King is the Holy Hero Sword, but it's gone missing. And the reason it's gone missing is because King Shark has eaten it." And that's when Harley has an idea. She's like, "Princess Fiona, come here. I got a plan." And so as the Undead King is fighting the remaining Suicide Squad members, all of a sudden a bullet hits the Undead King in the head. It just kind of bounces off his helmet, and he notices Rick Flag. And before he can do anything, Harley, who's riding Artie, comes flying towards the Undead King. But the Undead King grabs Harley by the neck and starts squeezing her, and basically starts choking her to death. It says that I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to raise you up under my leadership. And then that's when Harley shakes her head and a wig falls out. And it turns out it's not Harley, it's actually the princess. And the princess has magic powers. The princess is able to use her magic to call the hero sword. So she calls for the hero sword. It rips out of King Shark's stomach, flies towards the princess, but the Undead King is within the path of the sword. So the sword actually cuts through the Undead King's head before Princess Fiona grabs it. And so the headless body of the Undead King falls. The head of the Undead King falls. Princess Fiona, who's like knocked out, starts falling, but the dragon's able to save her. And as the dismembered head is falling, it notices Katana smirking and basically says, "Oh, the Emperor, you set me up. This was your plan all along." And then that's when it cuts to Harley, who has a baseball bat, and she uses it to swing at the head, smacks it, launches it into the sky, Team Rocket style, and it implodes. So the Undead King is dead. And then that's when we cut to the credits. And we have the princess is now the queen. Cecil is there. He's been bandaged up and he's fine now. Basically gives this royal decree to Harley. And it's basically saying how, like, you know, we are in good relationships and we're willing to trade and all this stuff. But it's basically like one of the highest honors that anyone can get. Where Harley's like, "I have no idea what this says because I can't read it. It's in a different language." And she just throws it on the floor. She's like, "What I really want is food. Do you have any food?" And the princess is like, "Yeah, there's a bunch of food outside. We even have enough for Artie." So the Suicide Squad goes out to get some food and celebrates. Rick Flag comes in, picks up the scroll and apologizes. And then he radios into Amanda Waller and basically explains what happened and how the relationship is good. They're willing to, you know, trade in some resources. The mission is still ongoing, though. We caught sight of Katana in the Empire. And this is where the twist comes. Amanda Waller's like, "What are you talking about?" And it cuts to Amanda Waller, and Katana's standing right next to her. She's like, "Katana has been here the entire time. She never once went through the portal. She was never a part of the original squad. It must have been his doing. This is something that he would totally do." And then it cuts to the Emperor's base, castle, secret lair, whatever you want to call it. And we see this figure starts off as Katana, but then as it's walking, it starts transforming into the different, the original squad that showed up at the world. So it starts turning into Ratcatcher, it turns into Killer Croc, it turns into the Thinker. So it's turning into all the different squad members as it's making its way up to the throne. It even transforms into the Undead King for a moment. And then all of a sudden it turns into its real form. And it's the Joker. So the Joker has been in this Isekai world the entire time. He was with the first squad to go. He took the form of Katana because I guess this was his way of revenge for Katana capturing Harley in the first episode. Rick Flag and Waller are like wondering what he's here for? Why did he come to this world? And Waller's like, well, probably because he wants to sow in chaos in this new world. Like, what else does he want? He just wants nothing but chaos. Joker's like, what do you think, Harley? Like, he's just talking out loud to himself. And then we cut to Harley, and Harley's like enjoying herself at the feast. And she looks off into the distance, and she's like, just wait, Pudding. I'm going to find you someday. She still has no idea that the Joker is here. And the final messages, we cut back to Joker. And he says, has this world cured your boredom? Oh, is this not enough? And then that's how it ends. When I said that, I kind of figured something this was going to happen, but I didn't. What I mean by that is I figured Joker had to come into play at some point, because we just had him like as little flashbacks. And I'm like, you know what? DC's freaking in love with Joker. They shove him into everything. Him and Batman. Every single thing has to have Batman and the Joker in it. It's almost like they forgot that Batman has other rogue characters. And also the fact that they have other DC characters other than Batman. Either ways, this is not a rant for that. Yeah, I was like, they got to do more with Joker. Just to have him as little tiny flashbacks. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be something else. But I never expected that he was going to be here the entire time. And that he was actually Katana the entire time. So every time when we saw Katana in the Isekai world, that was actually Joker. So I guess Clayface was flirting with Katana earlier. That's kind of weird. But yeah, then again, maybe Princess Fiona will like that, because there was like more Yuri bait when Harley was getting basically like the scroll from the princess. There was a little bit more flirting there, and the princess was like blushing like crazy. So yeah, a lot of like Yuri bait between the two. But yeah, I figured Joker was going to show up at some point. I thought what was going to happen was they would save the day, and then maybe Amanda Waller would show up, and she was going to like arrest the Suicide Squad, and like, hey, your mission is done, but you're going back into jail. And then Joker was going to show up to cause chaos, and in that chaos, him and Harley and maybe the rest of the squad would be able to escape. And so they're now free. I thought maybe something like that would happen. But no, instead, it turns out that the Joker has been there the entire time, has somehow gained the power to shapeshift. I have no idea how, but he was able to shapeshift, and he mostly took on the form of Katana, but at other points, I believe he probably shapeshift as some of the other members to manipulate them into causing more chaos, like to basically escalate the war even more. So yeah, that's Suicide Squad Isekai Episode 10. Final episode of the season, maybe the final episode of the series, because again, at this point, there is no knowledge of a season 2 coming out. All in all, I actually liked it. I thought it was good. It wasn't great or anything, but it's good, dumb fun. Like, it's something that you just turn your brain off and just enjoy the chaos. It's not like the best anime ever, not even close. I wouldn't even say it's the best anime coming out at the moment. There's like other stuff that's better, of course. But as I said before, I do think this is like one of the best things to come out of Marvel or DC in recent times. I mean, obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine is better. But outside of that, this is like the best thing that we've seen from either two studios. Or I should say either two publishers, because I would even say this is better than some of the comics coming out. So yeah, it was fun. It was interesting. I like the fact that they did something new. They took the Suicide Squad, put them in a fantasy world, and gave them an isekai adventure. I can totally appreciate that you're doing something new and unique, kind of crazy and out there. Kind of wondering if maybe the people who came up with this idea were on something when they came up with it. Maybe they were like sick and just had some kind of fever dream and thought this whole thing up. Because I would never in a million years think, hey, let's take the Suicide Squad and isekai them and make an anime out of that. But they did, and it's entertaining. I liked it. All in all, I'd give it like maybe like a 6 out of 10. So it wasn't like great or anything like that, but I enjoyed myself for the most part. I would recommend watching it if you have time. So yeah, there you go. There's Suicide Squad Isekai Episode 10, final episode of the series, at least for now. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.